Hello, and thank you for lending your ears to Ratehub.ca's Real Money Talk podcast. In this show, we give you the real talk on all things money. We eliminate the fine print, we junk the jargon, and we explain how you can make smarter financial decisions. We're not millionaires, we're thousandaires, and we know you are too, so this show is for you. We want to talk about money because it affects everyone, rich and poor. Money shouldn't only be the occupation of the 1%, but rather the 99%. Avocado toast ain't the reason you're broke. Don't hold out lattes for paydays. Let's make money an everyday discussion.
Hello, my name is Matt, and thank you for tuning in to Ratehub.ca's Real Money Talk podcast. Ratehub.ca helps over 1 million Canadians every month choose better with their finances. If you're looking for a better mortgage rate, to compare insurance quotes, or to find the best credit card for you, head on over to Ratehub.ca to see how much money you could save today. Today on the show, I'm speaking with Morgan Roberts, Director of Sales at RH Insurance, about what Canadians should know about their home insurance. We'll be digging into a few issues that are currently and will have longer-term impact on the home insurance market in Canada, from the current tragic flooding in BC to wildfires and how climate change affects your home insurance. We'll also dig into a few common household issues such as water damage and how you might not be covered by your current home insurance policy. Before we transition into home insurance for the holidays, like, are your gifts protected from theft? What made the Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv, target those homes, and what you can do to protect your property. Then we'll finish with some quick money tips for Christmas. So first, let's welcome Morgan back to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on again. Second appearance for both. Second time we've both done this together, so we'll see how this goes. So in our true fashion, let's kick things off with our money mistake. So whether you're a first-time listener or a lover of the show, yes, we see you. Thank you for your ears. We always kick things off with a money mistake or makeup. It's important to know that even money-minded people like Morgan and myself, or we claim to be, make common mistakes. So I'll go first. And I'll keep this holiday related since it's this time of year. So I'll talk about a holiday mistake. And for me, I am a sucker of Black Friday and Boxing Day sales, especially when it comes to technology. Future Shop, when it existed, was like the bad store for me because I'd always go in there to like buy something, inconsequential, even like a cord for, like an iPhone, and I'd walk out with 3 or 4 items because, things would be on sale or they'd put the items in front of you. And, when it comes to Black Friday, I'd have a plan. I'd be like, I'm going to go get a new TV. I've, saved up for a few months or a year to get this item, and I've been waiting for this date. But I would always walk out with like 7 or 8 other things because, things were 25% off, 30% off. How could I pass up these amazing deals? And a lot of it was like DVDs and Blu-rays and games, things that I was really passionate at the time. But now we live in a streaming culture, and I have shelves of DVDs, Blu-rays, and games that just sit and collect dust. So as a long-term investment, they were not money well spent. So how about you, Morgan?
See, I always try to plan for Christmas, and I'll start like right after Christmas. So instead of Boxing Day and Black Friday, I will spend the whole year, and every time the kids say they want something for Christmas or they like this toy or whatever, I'll buy it. So I'll start buying things in like January, February and putting them away. But then Christmas comes the next year. My kids have outgrown everything that they asked for, and now I have spent so much money on this stuff, and now they want more expensive stuff like Apple products and that kind of stuff. So I buy them as well, but I don't return the original gifts. So I waste a ton of money on buying things the kids don't actually want a year later. If I would just wait until September, October to start shopping, it would save me a ton of money.
No, that makes complete sense. You're trying to be proactive, right? And trying to have everything in order so you're not panicking, especially this time of year. And like this year alone, everyone's saying, be proactive with your Christmas shopping because with supply chain issues, you may not get what you want, especially if you're ordering online. I know I ordered a few things for my family and they're coming from the States, and there's a chance that people are just going to get wrapped printouts of what they're getting, and then it'll come sometime later in the year. But,
it's the thought.
It's the thought that counts, right? Exactly. And, you being proactive, may come back to bite you in the butt. But, I think this year alone was probably the prudent plan or prudent approach.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you try. It sounds like you're a good mother, and the kids should be happy and grateful for whatever they get. But no, let's dive into the topics for today. So, as we said in the intro, we're going to talk about home insurance today. Last time we had Morgan on, we predominantly chatted about auto insurance. So, it'd be great to get your perspective on what Canadians need to know when considering their current home insurance policies or buying a net new home insurance policy. So this topic really came to mind, and it came front and center to me because of what's going on in BC. I got deep into researching and seeing what was going on there, and it's just devastating. Towns and cities are being wiped off the map. Unfortunately, because of this torrential downpour, and BC's already had a lot this year with the the wildfires that destroyed towns as well, and infrastructure around the province. So, with that being said, this overall disaster, what I read about, could actually end up being the largest natural disaster in Canada. Previously, that was Fort McMurray. That was about $9 billion, I think, when all things were done. That's what it totaled up to. Private insurances, public insurances, in terms of like the actual infrastructure, repairing everything, roads, and all the other infrastructure. But they're saying that this could total even higher, and I'm not surprised based on the videos I've seen. It's just like there's a whole city like underwater, which is ridiculous. But what is the impact of bad weather events on consumers? So, I mean, the first and foremost question is probably going to be most people is, will my rates increase?
It's hard to say yes or no for sure, but if I had to take the guess, I'm going to say yes. So insurance is shared. If claims happen somewhere, the money has to be made up. So it's a shared thing. So everybody pays into it and the claims get paid out of it. So when something like this happens, and this is a huge, huge issue happening there, the money has to come somewhere to help these people rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to get their lives back together, and the insurance companies will help do it. But the money has to be recouped somewhere. So
That,
I think we'll see a
and,
slight increase.
and that makes sense. Now, do you expect the increase to be in the province of BC, or because a lot of these insurance companies represent, across Canada? So, or would you expect this to be more? Everybody across Canada will feel some sort of impact. It's just that the province that's experiencing the devastation is probably going to be hit hardest.
Yeah, the province that has, like, since BC is the one having the problem, they'll be hit the hardest, but it'll be a company wide, so it'll be right across Canada. I think everyone's will go up. I don't think it'll go up a lot, but I think you'll see an increase just to start recouping losses.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I mean, the whole market's a little bit out of whack right now because of COVID.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked before, and with some insurers, that just the fact they've been doing so much COVID discounting this year, their rates aren't maybe true to form as where they would be in a regular year. So we have that to consider going into next year, on top of these massive weather events that are costing the insurance companies millions, and impacting Canadians' lives. It's been a very difficult couple of years.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in BC. Like with the rebuild and everything, since towns and cities are gone, it will be interesting on what happens with the insurance here and how they rebuild and where they rebuild. So I'll be watching as it plays out as well.
The last major weather event, or at least flooding related, that I can recall was around 2013, which I think it was Toronto area, or at least definitely Ontario and Quebec. And that's where they developed the overland water product. Came out in 2015, a couple years after, but that was in response to the 2013 flooding. And I saw a stat the other day that said only 50% of BC people, or BC residents, BC home insurance policyholders, actually had overland water, which was surprising, because I know in Ontario, and I know from talking to you, it's something that you push almost as like a mandatory add-on. I know that it's
Yeah.
optional increase, but it's almost crazy not to add it, because of the protection it affords you as a homeowner. So, could you just explain to the listeners a little bit more about what overland water is, and why it's so important to have it on your policy?
Yeah. So to say with overland water, same with sewer backup. It's basically your most expensive claim, and it's your hardest one to clean because when water gets into something, it gets everywhere. So the overland water, the easiest way to describe it is overland water is clean water, sewer backup is dirty water. So sewer backup, you're not cleaning yourself. Your house is going to be a mess and it's going to smell horrendous. So that is the claim. The insurance companies come in, it comes up through your pipes. It's sewage water. Overland water is basically clean water that's coming from outside in. So if you had snow build up beside your window, ice, sudden melt, and it comes into the house, you're covered. You get up in the morning and your basement's underwater, you're covered, as long as you have overland water coverage. We quote it automatically on your policy. And if you remove it, we do have you sign that you understand what happens if you remove it. And we make sure you know the implications of it. It's a big coverage to have on your policy, and it's not very expensive, depending on
Yeah,
where you live. Yeah.
that's fair. And do you
Yeah.
have a rough idea of like what the average cost to Canadians would be to add on overland water and sewer backup to their policies?
I'm going to say anywhere between 100 and 250 for sewer backup and overland water. So for both coverages.
And that's for the year.
That's for the year. So it's
Yeah,
not even
yeah,
per month. So it's not a lot, especially when it comes to just look around your basement. If you had to rip up the basement,
yeah.
that's a lot of work and it's expensive.
So we're looking anywhere from like 10 to 30 bucks monthly to have those two coverages added to your policy,
Yeah. To
give or
have both.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even a little bit less than that actually.
Yeah.
So it when you break it down like that, it feels relatively inconsequential in terms of like the monetary cost to add that level of protection. I think I saw a stat that the average basement flooding, whether it's sewer backup or overland water, can cost like around $43,000 to repair. So not having that level or not having that insurance, do you have $43,000 lying around in your in your
In your
accounts
pocket.
to be
Yeah.
yeah in your
You want
pockets
to
in your
have that
account
on too.
in that mattress where you stuff all your
Yeah.
money?
Like you're paying for insurance anyways, so you might as well get the coverages that you're going to need.
For
Like
sure.
that's kind of the thing. Yeah. You want to protect your basement. Like you want to protect the house. And water is it's a mess. It just gets everywhere.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's shocking to hear that only 50% of BC residents had the overland water. Um,
Yeah.
I know in previous disasters, insurance companies have stepped up and have paid out claims when they didn't have to. Prior to 2015, overland water wasn't even available, right? So if there was a massive flooding event, that wasn't covered. And now there is an opportunity with overland water to get that level of coverage. But given the devastation in BC, do you foresee something similar happening that you could see insurance companies step up to the plate and help Canadians out?
I do. I think the insurance companies will come together and work something out the same way they did when Toronto flooded. Like they
Yeah,
didn't have to pay out those coverages and they stepped up and they did. I think you'll see the same thing happen in BC.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an educational moment for everybody, not just the people affected, but I think Canadians across the board should pay attention to this and and to double check that their policies and the coverage they have in place is there to protect. Because you know it's great that the insurance companies are stepping up, and they'll use this as an educational moment to push forward. But hopefully, more people can step away and make sure they have the proper coverage in place. Because I don't know if it can be expected every time that the companies will come up to the plate, but we always appreciate when they do.
Yeah.
Um,
I think everyone has to look at their policy and really, if you don't know, call your broker. They're the experts in it. So just
yeah,
call and ask. See if you have it. If you don't understand your policy, just call and ask.
I can speak from personal experience. I bug Morgan all the time about policy questions regarding my own, and
Yeah.
she walks me through it, and it's pretty. You feel stupid asking the questions, but then when they walk you through it, it's really worth like the 20-30 minutes conversation because I'm a recent homeowner. I just I moved in November and I got my home insurance policy, and I'm used to my auto insurance policy, which is like 3 pieces of paper. And my home insurance policy comes in with like 40 pieces of paper and all these rules and regulations about how payouts can actually happen and all this stuff, and it does feel way overwhelming compared to an auto policy. So it's worth having those conversations just to make sure that the situation of when you're covered and when you're not, and the reasons why you might not be covered, and then even the coverage limitations. That's actually something I wanted to ask you about, because I know when flooding happens, and this happened to me when me and you were looking to try to get insurance for me. It happened to be that when I was looking for home insurance for my property, it was during a period of higher rain and potential flooding. Now there wasn't any flooding at the time, but we noticed that all of a sudden I couldn't get rates that I was seeing, a week or two earlier, and that even if I was getting rates, my coverage was capped.
Yeah.
Is that common, or can you kind of describe how that happens when like big weather events are happening, or even smaller scale, how the industry reacts and adapts to those situations?
Yeah. In your situation, I think it was a big storm that was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no flooding. I don't even think it was raining at that point yet. But they saw it coming, so they stopped new business from coming through, or they cap it at, I think one of the companies capped you at like 5,000 for sewer backup and overland water. If you had a policy currently in place, you're fine. Your limits are your limits. They won't change them when something happens. But some companies will cap, some won't. You just have to, that's where we have to shop as your broker to find out the best policy that'll suit you. And sometimes you need it right then. Like your house was closing. So
Yeah.
you had to have it on at that point.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, a few of the companies that we had were just capping you, and that it just wasn't going to work for your situation. So
So
you got to look
it,
around and make sure you're at policy limit.
for sure, you got to plan ahead. I mean, I was a victim of poor circumstance just because of where it was coming from. That I needed to get that rate at that time as part of my mortgage application, and luckily I was able to get proper insurance. And it just so happened to work out. I just stayed with my auto insurer, so I got to take advantage of the bundle discount, which is always a plus, and get the best rate for what I could get. But if you're somebody who's like, oh, I see a big weather event coming, and now I'm going to add on that overland water, or crap, I got hit. Now I'm going to add that to my insurance coverage. That's not going to work out, as you're saying.
Yeah.
It's either going to be capped, or they're going to say, no, you can't add this after you've already had the flood.
Yeah. You're putting the cart before the horse there. So you'd want to make sure when you set up the policy, you have full policy limits. So you know that in that calendar year, if something happens, you're covered.
Great.
Yeah.
And you can always adjust your coverage limits later on, right? You can have a conversation with your broker, review your policy, whether it's biannually or at your renewal mark, and just kind of go over your coverage limits.
It's always good to go over your coverage limits yearly. Like you got to think in a year, things change in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might have finished a basement. You might have, if it's a condo or tenants policy, even type thing, you might have added somebody into the house. You might have had a new baby, something like that, where your contents limits go up. You should always reevaluate once a year just to make sure you're still covered.
No, and that makes complete sense to me. And not to go off too far off base, because we're talking about the flooding, and there's other things related to this, but when you're doing renovations or have renovated your property and the value goes up, you have to update your broker, right, or your insurance carrier anytime things change, because that can affect the replacement cost of your home.
So we're going to throw that out there while you're saying it. So if you're doing renovations, you should call your broker first too.
There you go.
If it's just a minor renovation, you're okay. But if you're doing a renovation, it's always best to call your company, call the broker, just to make sure that during those renovations, you're going to be covered. So
Yep.
I did a major renovation on my house a few years ago where I basically ripped down the entire outside of the house. And my insurance company had no problem with it, but I had to add on a builder's risk policy during the time that it was going on as well. So if I would have had a claim and not had the builder's risk policy, when the insurance company showed up for the claim, they would have been like, this is not the house we were looking to insure.
Yeah.
So it's always best to, make sure that if you change anything in the house that's going to add value, call your insurance company, bring up the rebuild value, or if you're doing construction, just let them know so that they know what's happening in case a claim does happen.
And so, like, when we relate this to flooding, your basement gets flooded, you have to redo everything.
Yep.
Your basement could be, I don't know, 15, 20 years old, right?
Yep.
So when they redo it, is that going to increase the value of your home because it's going to be, potentially you're going to have a new bathroom, you're going to have, maybe you had a bedroom down there, you're going to have a new bedroom, all this stuff's going to be replaced. So I guess would that affect your policy as well?
So usually they go unfinished basement or unfinished basement. So you are going to get a brand new basement, which would technically increase the rebuild value. And you can incorporate that in the rebuild. Like when you call in, it won't change it a lot. If it was a finished basement to finished basement.
Yeah.
The insurance
company
has coverage in there for you.
The plus side is it should also increase the value of your home. If you're getting a nice new brand new finished basement and it was a 25-year-old, finished basement before, the modern look to it, the new bathroom is definitely going to, help the resale value of the home.
100%. New floors, new everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying bank on a flood if you want to increase the resale value of your home, but there are benefits.
There are benefits to it.
Yeah. Now, when you do the whole restoration, do you have, you have to keep your insurer informed, like you said. Do you have to use, a restoration specialist, for flood damage or anything that's provided by the insurance company, or can you use somebody you trust? Like, how does that all work?
So you don't have to use. So they will. Well, the insurance company will send out the adjuster,
Yeah.
and depending on your company, they'll determine what they're going to do there. You can either hire your own company, and they'll give you the value that they're willing to pay, or you can use their preferred people. If you use their preferred people, the insurance companies guarantee the work. So
Okay.
it's always best, I find, to use their people unless you have somebody you really, really trust. But I always find it's best to use the insurance company's people.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you'll get a guarantee on it.
And when you say a guarantee on it, that if there's any issues with the work, the insurance company covers that, no problem.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they send out their company and it's not done properly, they'll come back and fix it.
And if it's not done properly, and say it leads to another incident, like there's a leak or something like that, does that count as another claim on your book, or is that because it was not done properly by the restoration services that was guaranteed by the? Are these are so
So that's where the
niche
argument could be.
scenarios?
Say they
Yeah.
finished your basement today and it was by a guaranteed company, and then all of a sudden it leaked like next week.
Yeah.
You could argue that the claim was closed and now it's going to fall into the same claim. But
Yeah.
if it's not one of their companies, they could argue that no, we don't know what that person did. So now it's two claims, which now you have a bigger problem on your insurance.
So the benefit is if you go with the guaranteed, you have a better chance of making a case going forward if anything was to happen again, because
Yes.
the work was done. Well, the work was supposed to be done by an approved person that was up to code.
Yes. They're vetted by the companies. Yeah. I always recommend using the insurance approved people.
Now, what is the average? Because we talked about capping a little bit when it came to like the water damage and sewer damage and overland water. What is the typical cap or amount you would get?
You should go up to your policy limit. So you will see caps. Some companies cap it. In your case, you're getting capped at $5,000, but you'll see some that do like 20 or 25,000 or 100,000. On my policy, I have it's over 200,000. So I just keep it right up to the policy limit just in case. Like you never know what's going to happen. And well, we're in my basement now.
Yeah.
If it floods, um, I have to replace the couches, the floors, everything. But those couches are like 15 years old. I'm not buying 15-year-old couches again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want anything capped. I like everything at full policy limit.
So that water damage coverage covers more than just like the brick and mortar and like your flooring. It covers like your electronics and everything like that.
Those will fall under your contents.
Oh, contents?
That's where
Okay.
the insurance company will get the different things, like the different coverages in your policy, and like your contents will fall. Your couch, TV, all that falls under the contents.
So if you're in a flood, you have to complete I don't know if it's like a rider or a list of everything that was damaged or lost during a flood.
You can, you'll try. Like
Yeah.
you basically walk around and see what's missing, what's not. Like
Yeah.
my basement's pretty standard. It's got the couch, the table, TV, and some electronics. So, but it gets hard when you get into like if your basement's like a toy room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
hard.
now
It's harder to recall exactly what was there, and
Yeah. So
You know,
the adjuster will work with you for it.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So what we're saying is, if you have the coverage, the cost of repair and who pays it would be the insurance company to your limit.
Yes.
Now, if your limit was capped at, like you said, 25,000 because of a certain provider, that's their cap, and your damages are 50, you're having to pay that extra 25 out of pocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that from an insurance perspective, right? Like if the insurance company caps you at 25, either you have to have an emergency fund that you're planning for these things, or would you recommend shopping around to find an insurer that has a better cap?
I would try to shop around.
Okay.
Like you don't want your emergency fund going towards.
Yeah. So
water.
if you're not, is there a limit you would say that if you're not getting at least this, you would recommend someone shopping around?
I'd say 100,000.
At least if you're not getting at least 100,000 and you have a basement. Yeah.
Yep. I'd recommend 100,000. I'd rather have too much coverage than not enough. And
Now,
usually you're 100,000 to 200,000. There is no price difference.
would you? Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that would change whether it was unfinished basement?
No, I'd still want it. You got to think if sewer backup gets into your basement,
Yeah.
you're not cleaning it. It's gross. Like it's
Yeah.
Well, I'm not cleaning it.
I know. It's
Yeah,
a biohazard. It's a biohazard for
little
sure.
fancy for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gross. It smells like it's just you want the professionals to come in and do that. You don't want to be paying out of pocket with that. Like it's hard to begin with.
That's a good thing too. A good thing to note too. The 100,000 to 200,000, because even if it says the average cost to of a basement flooding is 43,000, or maybe it's 50,000 today. Um, yeah, we're seeing the cost to like build and repair, or net new everything. Materials are just going up. Supply chains are low right now. So I bet you the cost to repair and rebuild these homes in BC are going to be exponentially more expensive than they would have been prior to COVID.
Well, look at the price of wood during COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your deck turned into like your retirement savings if you sold it. Like it was crazy there for a while.
Now, when you go to rebuild, if it's a total loss, catastrophic loss, do you have the right to choose where you want to rebuild, or does the insurance company select it for you?
All depending on which insurance company you have. So some policies you can get where you can just take the cash
Yeah.
and walk away. Like my insurance policy, no, I have to rebuild on my property, same type of house. So that's where I don't know what's going to happen in BC.
Yeah, because if they're still underwater, or because there's a whole thing too that I was reading about, that roughly about 10% of Canada, or 10% of insured Canadians, are in areas that won't be covered by water damage. Like they won't provide overland water or sewer backup, because these areas are too prone. There's too much statistical evidence to say that this event could occur. Now that a catastrophic event has occurred in Abbotsford, and even 5% of that region wasn't even able to get overland water because they just they didn't meet the criteria. It'll be curious to see how they recode that area, because from what I was reading, it used to be a river and had the water diverted away or something like that. So that's why it got hit so bad too. And it's like in a valley almost, like where it's kind of like below, like low on sea level. I'm probably not describing it perfectly, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's easier to flood because you're lower.
Yeah, it'll just be curious to see how that's handled going forward. Because, like you said, are they going to be able to rebuild in the same spot anytime soon? Maybe not, and maybe and not. So, what do these people do? Can you even get the materials? Like trying to build homes currently.
And how long will they be
at a lower scale? Right, this is going to be restoring entire communities instead of like building a home here or there. So
that's my wonder, because like right now, like your house, it's your house. If they're rebuilding your house, a few months.
Yeah.
Once if you're 40 on the list or 100 on the list down, like just waiting for them to come to rebuild.
And then there's the contractors and the businesses. Like the businesses in town, the contractors in town, they have homes too. They have businesses that could be affected by the floods too. They may not be even able to do the work. So who's doing it? It's going to be a trying period. Do you know?
Bad for them, yeah.
Yeah. I guess there'll have to be a lot of temporary shelters and homes put up for people.
I'm assuming they'll probably fly them or somewhere, maybe. Like there's like community centers, but then
put them in hotels and stuff like that, and
your insurance company pays for additional living expenses. So,
but that only lasts for so long, though, right?
It does. Yeah, it does. It depends on how long it's going to take them to rebuild, right? You'll have some people that would hopefully can go live with family or friends, stuff like that.
The government and the Red Cross are going to have to step up and put up temporary shelters and housing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's
also, where's that going to be too?
Yeah, it's going to have to be not in Abbotsford area. It's going to have to be in an area that's definitely more secure. It's tragic.
It is. You'll have people like they'll be out of work, especially if you have to move to go stay somewhere. Like,
this is the Canadian equivalent of the Katrina accident, where New Orleans was underwater, and now people did go back. They did rebuild. Whether it was they didn't have a choice or not, whether they went back to the same area.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect the town of Abbotsford to be rebuilt in some way or some form. It'll just be curious to see if it's the same population as before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do people say, you know what, I'm going to use this opportunity. I'm just going to get out of BC. I'm going to move somewhere else. Yeah. I mean,
or personally, part of BC, just somewhere else.
Somewhere else, and I am lucky, and I believe you're lucky. We have the freedom with with how we work, we could,
Yeah.
go where we want because we can work remote. Not everyone has that opportunity, and they don't have that that flexibility to be able to do where they want from wherever they want. So,
That's
um,
definitely, yeah, that's a good thing about the new work from home, remote era that we're living in now. You can go anywhere.
it gives more Canadians. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are just obviously some jobs that factory jobs, construction jobs. You just can't. You
Doctors,
can't.
nurses. Yeah.
Doctors, nurses. You're more restricted to the areas you're in. So definitely praying for those people and hoping that it's it's extra hard this year with it being the holiday season now and this all happening too, right? So,
Oh, it makes it 10 times worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Especially now it's cold too. Like it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, like it's just all around a bad situation.
Now, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about the language, because when we talk about flooding, we often hear like acts of God. And I know I brought this up to you, and you were like, "You can't say that."
Hate
And
that.
I was like, "We're going to put this on the podcast. I want you to explain why we shouldn't be referring to these things as acts of God, because the news talks about it too. It's like these catastrophic events, these 1 in 100 year act of God events, and it's like, well,
Yes.
that's not what you should be calling them because that's not what the insurance company calls them.
Everybody calls them that. So it's the
Yeah,
peril you're insured for insurance. So like the wildfires right now, if your house burns down, it's the fire that you're insured for. If the house floods, it's the water, it's the peril. So it's not the act of God, it's the peril that the insurance companies pay out on.
hmm
You know what I mean? So the act of God of the wildfires,
yeah,
when people are wondering if they're covered or not, if you have a comprehensive policy, if you're covered by fire,
yeah.
you're covered. It's not because it's a wildfire, it's fire that.
So your policy will never say wildfire or like flood or I don't
Yeah.
even know like
Yeah, like
the the the,
earthquake.
the plague.
Earthquake is a buy-up in Ontario. I don't know, I
Yeah.
can't speak for other provinces, but earthquake, there's an act of God that
hmm
you are not insured with in Ontario unless you purchase that separately on your home. So that's when. So it's earthquake that is the peril there.
And I believe it's the same in BC where you can purchase earthquake endorsement,
Yeah,
um,
probably.
which is out west. uh, Earthquakes are more of a risk to be concerned of. I mean,
Some people buy it here. I feel like they're gonna win
it's
because
potentially
one day
we've
there's an
noticed
earthquake.
we've noticed, and there was some stuff in Quebec a couple years ago. I remember of just knock on wood. I don't even have wood around me, but hopefully the big one doesn't come. But definitely with BC being on the fault lines, I
Yeah,
understand
I haven't
why.
sold too many in my career.
Well,
I
yeah, dealing in Ontario, I'm not shocked. I'm not
Yeah,
shocked. It's not really ever talked about, or people don't ever really think about it. We're so
yeah.
situated, we never really think about. I didn't even really think about flooding that much. I mean, I don't live near the local river in London is not that close to me, the Thames River, and I'm not anywhere near a lake, right? I never really thought about the need of flooding,
No.
but there's snow and the runoff,
No.
and but that was my naivety of being a renter, and you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. The
Yeah.
worst thing about renting is the pipes bursting, which I can tell you I had like literally the week I was moving out, the pipes burst in the place that I was renting, so that happens. um, but
Best to be covered.
but that's
Yeah.
covered by a regular policy, right? If the pipes burst, that's not you don't need overland water or sewer backup. That's just
Your pipes burst, you're okay.
as long as it's not like
Like from
negligence. Like,
outside.
well, I didn't even mean that, but I meant like if the pipes burst because you weren't maintaining, like doing the proper, expected maintenance of your home, right? Like if they rotted out or something like that, would that still be covered? I don't. I
Usually.
really. I always thought there was some gray area around that, or like insurers could be a little bit more strict, saying like, hey, like you didn't do your proper seasonal maintenance of your home, like.
So if you're gone for like the winter, you
Well,
have to take precautions. Like
well, I
you
know
have
that
to
one.
make
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, someone's coming in. I even like in the summer recommend it. Like nothing's gonna freeze in the summer, but if you go away for the summer, like if you spend the summer at the cottage, just have someone check on your house, make sure the basement's not flooding.
that's
Like it
that's
can happen.
no, that makes sense. That's actually a good transition moment into like the holiday and the home. So, like you said, if you leave for an extended period of time, and I know there's, and you can, that's what I want you to tell me because I can't remember the time period, but I know there's a time period that if you're out of your home for so long and you haven't checked in on your home or had someone checked in on it, like if anything happens, you're not covered anymore because it's considered like negligence.
Yeah, so each company puts in a different timeline of for snowbirds basically. If you're gone in the winter, how
Hmm.
long the house you could be gone for without somebody checking on it. Some people are 7 days, some people are 14 days, but you got to have someone come in and check. But just your regular home maintenance, like I recommend if you're gone, like my parents used to be gone for like 4 or 5 months at a time to the cottage
Hmm.
in the summer. We would just pop by just to make sure. And we did pop by once, and the basement window had blown it, like had built up with
Jeez.
water and just flooded my dad's basement. So you're always best to just go check those things. Just have someone, a neighbor, someone you trust, your kids, just pop by, check to see if your house is still okay.
And even for snowbirds, don't they have to, or if you're going to be gone for an extended period of time in the winter, don't you have to turn the water off so that your pipes don't freeze? Or isn't
Yeah.
there something on that? Like if you don't do that, that's not like you can get in trouble for that one too.
You're supposed to turn them off and drain them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that they're
if the pipes froze and you were gone, even if you had someone checking, they would still say, "Well, you didn't do what you were supposed to do."
yeah, there'd be an argument there. I think as long as you had somebody checking, they'd still
Yeah.
pay out, but it
Okay.
could be a gray area. You might be in for it might not be as easy of a claim as it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're always best to turn off the water, empty the drains, empty the pipes so that you don't have that risk.
So
You don't
this
want
holiday,
someone coming there from vacation and having
100%. And I'm not, with the whole COVID season, I know that the traditional family get-togethers might not be the same, but we're just saying if you're going to be away for an extended period of time, you're going to go to your parents for Christmas for a week, and you're going to be longer than 7 days, you should probably have someone checking in,
yeah,
because you could be putting yourself at risk. And then
especially
if
at
you're going to,
Christmas.
yeah, and if you're a snowbird, make sure you drain those pipes.
Yeah. At
Yeah.
Christmas, there's more stuff in people's houses.
Well,
Like,
Christmas is then that now we can get into like we kind of joked about it earlier about Harry and Marv from Home Alone 2 and Home Alone 1, the Home Alone series, I should say. What is covered with a break-in? This is the time of year where break-ins are on the rise. Like you said, people know there's expensive items in people's homes. They're under the tree. They're in and around. Even after Christmas, there's been brand new purchases. And people can get a little bit, they leave and they go to parties and stuff like that. Your
yeah,
home
you don't
is
think about
alone.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so theft is covered. But you have to keep in mind on what you purchased. So just say, well, I can tell you, I've got a few new Apple Watches sitting upstairs wrapped. That could fall under your jewelry, electronics type thing. It all depends. If you're getting people get engaged all the time at Christmas, you got an engagement ring hiding, stuff like that. That stuff has limits on it. So if you bought an engagement ring, you're going to want to let your insurance company know if you're hiding it before you propose, just so that if someone did break in, it really wouldn't be covered if the insurance company doesn't know about it. It'll be covered to a certain limit,
Hmm.
but you might be at a loss.
Yeah, the limits for jewelry are pretty low unless you have it like called out, right? And like
Yeah.
appraised or anything like that, right? And that's the
Yeah.
same with
They're
any like
usually about 5 to 10,000, but that's for all the jewelry in the house. So if you
yeah,
got a few
yeah.
rings, you got a few watches, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, so you should
So
really like if you get a nice new diamond necklace for Christmas, it's probably going above and beyond your limits. So you probably want to get that on a special what is it like endorsement or a
yeah.
rider on your policy that says this is what this is appraised at and this is what it's valued at.
Yeah. You just need the appraisal, call your broker, tell them that you got it. Even if you're buying it for someone, just tell them that it's in the house right now until
Yeah.
Christmas, like, just so that the insurance company knows that if something does happen, you're not out that money.
And then when it comes to like your general things, like you get brand new TVs and stuff for Christmas, or even around the holidays, you're doing like, maybe it's not for Christmas, but it's Boxing Day sale or something that you're buying
Yeah.
for yourself. Are there limits to your like electronics and other items in your house that you can increase?
You'd have to check your policy with each company, but yeah, you'd want to just check. There will be limits on that kind of stuff. They're going to be higher than jewelry, though.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
a like if your house gets broken into? I don't know if you've experienced this being like a broker. What is a traditional like coverage and payout for like a break in?
So I can tell you, so my house got broken into, and I had jewelry stolen and money. So
Hmm.
nothing, no electronics got stolen. They're too easy to track nowadays.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Apple products don't get stolen. Um, so I had a $10,000 limit on my policy for jewelry that got
Hmm.
paid out, and then I had gift cards in that. I think it was up to 1,000. It was gift
Okay.
cards and cash paid out. So it all depends on what gets stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah, electronics are harder to steal now just
So,
because they are so trackable.
so don't be keeping cash in your mattress because it's not going to be
No,
insured.
it's a horrible idea.
Yeah,
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 like, learn
yeah.
from my mistakes, it's dumb. Don't do that.
But and like your
Yeah.
jewelry probably was more than 10,000 stolen. I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, I didn't have the rider, but the bright side, most of my more expensive jewelry I did have on my person,
yeah,
but it could have been a lot worse. So, definitely, if you are buying things for Christmas that are of a higher value, while they're being stored in your house before they go, just make sure your broker knows.
yeah.
Yeah, just
It
so
knows and afterwards, yeah, like have that. Get on the phone over Christmas during the break and just be like, hey, I have a lot of new items in the home. Let's take a look at what's insured right now and am I covered? So
yeah, you can
yeah,
even do that before Christmas just so that you don't forget.
yeah.
Like, yeah, if I'm buying you something super cool, I can call and say, "I bought him this. Can we
No,
insure it?"
that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
No. So beyond that, is there anything that people should be doing that insurance companies recommend to help protect their home or prevent break-ins or anything like that?
Basically, just lock your doors. Make sure it looks like your home. Hide your stuff.
Yeah.
Don't leave it all just sitting out plain view. Don't make it easier for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, security cameras are always fantastic, and they're a deterrent.
Yeah, you with security cameras, are there discounts? I know there are some discounts for like increased protection of your home.
Yep. So if you get a security camera that is monitored by a company like the Rogers, the ADTs, those ones, yeah, you get a discount on your home for that.
Okay.
You can get burglary and fire monitored for those. If you get the ones that are self-monitored by your phone, you don't get the discounts for them. Yeah.
So
I do still
just
recommend them though.
yeah, having a Ring doorbell or something like that that can take a picture of somebody coming in would help with investigations, but it's not going to give you any discount. But it is good peace of mind.
It won't, but
Uh,
it's also a deterrent for people
yep.
coming into your house because they can
Yeah.
see the cameras. We can all see the Ring doorbells. You know you're on camera. So
Or
it
even
is more of a deterrent.
those lights. I felt like they were so popular back growing up, like the way
Floodlights.
where you'd walk by and all of a sudden they turn on
Yeah.
and you were like, oh Jesus.
And they're
Um,
so bright.
oh, they were so bright, and you feel like you've been caught doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Um, but no, those things like that to your home definitely make sense. I know, like my parents always growing up, we had timers on our lights, and they'd go on and off, and they'd be annoying when you're at home, but it's good to have that on when you don't. So
Yeah,
it
I
all
have
makes.
security cameras.
You put up security cameras. Yeah,
Yeah. This I have the self-monitored ones too, though.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
I know that myself. I was going to add a Ring doorbell at some point as soon as they actually install the doorbell here. So
I have
it's
the Ring
great.
doorbell too. Yeah.
Living in a brand new build is challenging on its own. No, that all makes sense. Is there any other tips that you would give for someone around the holidays regarding their home insurance? Something they should consider?
No, just make sure you're clearing snow around windows, like clearing out the window wells, shovel your driveway. Just basically keep proper maintenance of your house. I shovel off my deck outside because it's attached to the house.
Yeah,
Just keep the snow away from your house as much as possible.
that's a good question though. When you're talking about shoveling, yeah, because like liability is a big thing too.
Yeah.
With especially this time of year with people slipping and falling at your house.
Yeah.
If you've done the proper protocol or proper expected protocol, you're salting or sanding, you're doing proper maintenance, and somebody still slips and fall. How is that? How does that insurance coverage work?
Unfortunately, they can still put in a claim.
And is that covered by your home insurance or your auto insurance?
Home insurance.
Oh, home insurance. Okay.
Yeah. So they fell on your property, it would be your liability under your home. So I always recommend 2 million liability on your home.
Hmm.
Always, like, regardless, summer, winter, whenever. I always recommend 2 million. I think the most I've seen is an extra $50 a year to go from 1 million
Yeah,
to 2 million. So, but that will pay out in the event that you do get a slip and fall claim.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And even with like holiday, I guess another thing for holiday purchases, I don't know if people know this, is that if you're out and about and it's you're doing all your shopping and it's in your car, and somebody breaks in and steals all the presents out of the back of your car, that's not covered by your auto insurance. That would have to be put under your home insurance if you want to claim it.
It could be both too.
It could be.
You could end up with 2 claims. So
That's
if I
true.
smash if you leave in the back seat, I see it and I smash your window of your car, you've got a car insurance claim because I
Yes,
broke your window.
100%. Yeah,
If
the
they
window and
break that,
stuff.
it's a home insurance claim.
But the contents are home insurance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything, the best way is if it doesn't belong in your car, it's a home
Yeah.
insurance.
So yeah, when you're out shopping nowadays, or you're going to visit grandma, just make sure things aren't in view. Cover them up, hide them.
Yes.
Don't make it
Yeah.
easy. Remember to lock the doors and everything like that.
I always make sure I don't leave them in there too.
And don't leave anything overnight in your car.
No,
Yeah,
never.
anything of value. I can tell you, a younger Matt had that happen to me, and they broke in and stole a bunch of stuff, ripped out my brand new stereo and everything. So that was fun. And I did not claim under home insurance. I just sucked it up because I didn't
Such a
want.
bad one.
I claimed everything I could under auto, but home contents were lost. So yeah, it is what it is. But I didn't feel like I wanted to see both things increase.
Yeah, it's a good increase on your home insurance too.
Yeah.
Like it's not cheap.
It isn't cheap, but I've also heard people that we're so used to as Canadians to make auto insurance claims. But like even my parents, like they were so afraid to make a home insurance claim, and I'm like, I started talking to brokers and insurers, like, yeah, but it's very similar. Like the increases will be relative to the same. So it's just shocking that Canadians are less um what was the word? I'm like they're
They're less inclined to make one.
less inclined to make a home insurance claim, but they'll make an auto insurance claim for like a broken window. Like
I think it's the privacy thing of it too, though, because if you make the home insurance claim, the adjuster comes to your house, you got people in. I think people just don't like that.
yeah, it's always seemed weird to me. It's like people are more willing to spend out of pocket to replace things in their home than they will to fix like a $500 mirror on their car. Like it's like,
It's
oh, somebody broke my mirror. I got to put a car insurance claim, and it's like, really? Like your deductible is probably 500. Like
some companies do offer on home too, claims forgiveness. So your first
yeah,
claim forgiven. So call your broker to see if you can add that onto your policy.
and make sure you know what your deductible is as well, because
Yeah,
what's typical for home? 500 to 1,000.
1,000.
1,000.
500
So
is not
yeah,
very typical on a home.
okay, so just more
If
so on
you're
car.
making a $500 claim on your
No,
home,
that would make no sense. No,
no.
you better
So
paying out of
higher
pocket.
the deductible. We have a bunch of clients actually that request $5,000 deductibles.
I guess it makes sense because if you're gonna make a claim, it's got to be something big, and having a higher deductible will lower your insurance.
Yeah. So that's it could be why people are less inclined to though to make claims.
It's true. Well,
It's
yeah.
not
It's like
cheaper.
if it's under $5,000, then I don't really want to make the claim, right? Like I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. They're reserving their claims budget, I guess, or their for bigger things. If that flood ever happens to the basement, or
Yep.
they get a
I've been
break in and
joking
somebody
around.
steals $10,000 worth of stuff, like you said from yours. So
Yep.
um, that makes
Uh,
sense.
it's
So
definitely
oh, that and we didn't talk about that. You got a $10,000 claim, but you would have had to pay your deductible too, so you wouldn't even got the whole.
no.
You would have got like 10,000
And I
minus
didn't
whatever
even
you paid out.
replace it. Like that was the worst part.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
even
could.
rebuy anything.
Well, at that point, you're like, well, do I care that much about some of this old stuff? Like,
Yep.
it's frustrating because it's like it is your stuff, but it's like, do I want to buy the same jewelry or bracelets or electronics that I was using before? Or it's like, you know what? Half the stuff was just sitting there anyways. It was inventory in my house
Yep.
as opposed to actually being items, so I can use this money in other ways.
The most infuriating part, to be honest with you, is not knowing what's missing until you go to use it. Like
100%. Yeah.
AirPods. Didn't
Yeah.
realize they were missing until I went to go to the gym. And then you're irritated. Yeah.
And you didn't, yeah. So now you're like, oh, well, that's what I could use that money for.
Yep.
No, so I think I appreciate all the insights, and I think our listeners will. I think you've kind of shed a lot of insight on not just how to protect your home, making sure that you contact your broker regularly to make sure that
Yeah.
your coverage amounts and your caps are you're well understood. Helping to shed some light on what the different types of water damage protection are, and also some holiday tips how to maintain and protect your home. So, greatly appreciate that. But as we close, we like to do some stuff that's fun. I know we started the show with a fun money mistake. This time around, we usually do like rapid fire questions, but I thought in the spirit of holidays, I wanted to try something different. So I wanted to try an Xmas or a Christmas wish list, or a holiday wish list. Let's keep it inclusive of everything. What are just give me 5 things that you wish you could receive or have happened to you throughout 2022.
Okay. I want a vacation to Hawaii. I was supposed to have that in 2020. I'd like it in 2021. I'd like it in 2022. So I'd like to get on an airplane. That's my thing. I want to get on an airplane and go somewhere. And then then I get simple. Then I would like heated things, heated blankets. I saw a heated winter jacket would be fantastic. Like I would just sit here all day working in a heated winter jacket. What else would I like? I would like COVID gone.
Yeah, wow, that benefits everybody. That's a non-selfish, you know,
Yep.
use of your Xmas list.
Yeah, I'm completely over this. What else would I like? Oh, it's going to be my next money mistake for next time we do this as well. I'd like a Dyson Airwrap, which I'm aware is a ridiculous spend.
Yeah.
I really want one. So that would be like my
See,
number one.
this is the thing for people to realize. You can make open money mistakes as long as you're conscious of the fact that this is a frivolous item that maybe I don't need, but I'm treating myself. You know, we always joke about, being conscious of your money, don't spend on things you don't need. But if you're well aware of what you're doing and what the use of it is, there's no, don't be shamed that you're spending money on things like this. I bought myself a new TV from house. Did I need it? No. Could I go out and find the old one? But no, but I wanted to, and I set the money aside. So I well know that this isn't the best use of my money, but I still wanted it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. There's some things that like it's a stupid waste of money, but you're like, nope, I really enjoy that. So,
Yeah. So if it brings you joy, I don't consider it a money mistake. Now, if you buy it and you think it's going to bring you joy and it doesn't bring you joy, then yeah, you probably screwed up.
I would have some fantastic hair though. It would be amazing.
Well, we'll see. We'll see on future Zoom calls. Maybe we'll have you back and you can show us the results of the Dyson. I'll give a quick list of mine. I'm going to piggyback off you. A proper vacation. I haven't been on vacation in over 2 years, like many people, because of COVID. I decided not, even in the windows where things opened up, I didn't feel comfortable traveling. I didn't really want to do it. I was supposed to even go to Vegas the April when we really got locked down originally, so COVID even wiped out a vacation I had. So if I could be actually able to do something this year, just for my physical and mental well-being would be nice. I had the benefit of moving at least during COVID, so now I'm in a different property, so it doesn't feel like I'm staring at the four same walls, but it really feels like, I've been stuck at home for a while, and, just like anybody, it's good to get away and kind of cleanse and have those different experiences. Here's a selfish one for me. As a hockey fan, I'm a big Leaf fan. I would love for the Leafs to win a playoff round. I'm not greedy. I know most people are like, oh, win the Stanley Cup. Listen, not greedy. Let's just see some progress this year, and I'll be happy with that.
Not all the way, just do
Yeah, if they did all the way, that's just benefit, right? But I got to set my bar at a realistic level where I'm not going to be too disappointed. Because being a Leaf fan is just nothing but disappointment. My investments to rebound. COVID has really played the mark. I don't even know how it's the market's been up and down. People have been crushing it in certain areas, and then people have been getting crushed. It's very hard to predict. I dipped my toe into crypto in the last few years, and I'd say the results have been pretty positive there. But I'm also someone who's not like crazy spending tons of my money. But a couple of my investments, what you would consider more stable investments, or what we would have thought would have been more stable investments, have kind of faltered, and it's because even the investment itself, like the company, is having obviously supply chain issues and not being able to do the projects they normally would have been able to do because of COVID. So because COVID is not only affecting me, it's affecting other businesses. It's affecting your investments. I'm just hoping that this year we can kind of get with our booster shots and hopefully with our immunities building up and supply chains hopefully starting to come back to norm. I think it's still a couple years away before we're back to like a pre-COVID norm. And I even say when I say pre-COVID norm, I don't expect society to go back to being the same. I think, like we talked about, working from home, different things we do, the way we operate, our thoughts around masks. I think there will just be things that we carry over into the new society or a new form of society going forward. But I would like to see some step back, and selfishly would like to see my investments rebound for peace of mind. I recently bought a house, as I talked about, and I would very much appreciate my furniture and appliances finally arriving. For instance, I ordered a fridge and stove last March, and it may not come until this March. So that's almost a year waiting for a fridge and stove, which I think is ridiculous. But it is what it is. Luckily, I have loaner stuff, but it's annoying. You picked out and the stuff that, you'd want to have, and like I said, it's selfish and purely superficial. But it's kind of like I'm spending my hard-earned money, and what I'd like. Yeah, though luckily they only make you pay when stuff comes in. But it still has money just sitting there waiting, and it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating. And lastly, I'd like to see, this one's like more something related to our industry. You being the director of sales at RH Insurance and me being the director of the insurance vertical at Ratehub. I'd like to see more transparency around telematics programs. It's just something that I've talked about a lot throughout this year. There's a lot of ups and downs. I think the idea of what telematics are for our listeners, it's ability to track your behavior as a driver. And basically, if you're a good driver and you can follow the rules of telematics, you can basically like improve your rate up to 30%. And it's really useful for somebody that, is being rated more harshly because they don't have, in previous insurance experience, or they're young. It's a way to kind of help curb those myths around driver, or those statistical evidence, and, take more power and control over your insurance policy. The issue is that there's just some things regarding about how things are rated and how the programs fully work. And transparency around how data is used, which is blocking, I think, people from picking up the more widely adopted, and then just exactly how they pay out and how they work and how like the discounts are calculated. I think if we could provide transparency in that in 2022, I think we'd see a lot higher adoption, and more acceptance of these programs, because I don't think they're going away. If anything, I think they're going to see more companies come out with them. But there's still a long way to go to build that consumer trust. And I know that's kind of a weird way to end the top 5 wish list, but it's just been something on my mind for a while.
Matt has a lot of questions about.
I do have a lot of questions about telematics, because it's just like, it's a very interesting product, but there's too much gray area around it right now, which, would even prevent me from picking up a telematics device, because I just don't know if I would see a benefit, which makes me concerned. But no, appreciate the chat, Morgan.
Me too.
Hopefully we'll have you on in the future. We'll talk about other things related to insurance that we think our listeners would appreciate. But I think this was a very timely and useful chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
No problem. Well, we'll talk later, and thanks again, and thanks for listening to Real Money Talk, guys.
Thank you for listening. Thank you to Beat Chemist for providing us with our music. Find him on SoundCloud. I want to sincerely thank you, the listener, for taking the time out of your own day and investing it in yourself to get smarter about money. Head over to Ratehub.ca to learn more about making smarter financial decisions. If you want to thank us, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or follow us on Spotify. Thank you for listening. Let's help Canadians choose better with their finances.
And now, 5.
The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance in the program does not imply endorsement of them or any entity or their owners. Views and opinions expressed by Ratehub employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the views of Ratehub Inc. or any of its sponsors or officials. This is for general use, not certified or licensed advisors.
Yeah, we just don't want to get sued.